You know those moments when life just throws you a curveball? The path you thought was so clear, uh, suddenly vanishes.
Hmm, yes. And you're left with this feeling of uncertainty, maybe even feeling a bit lost.
Exactly. So today, we're going to explore navigating those times, what it means to have, well, what you might call faith in the fog.
Right. And it's not about pretending the fog isn't there, is it?
Not at all. It's more about finding a way to keep moving, keep putting one foot in front of the other, even when you can't see the whole picture.
Precisely. It's about cultivating um, a deep trust in a guiding principle, something beyond our immediate sight, especially when things feel unclear.
Like a way to maintain direction and
Yeah,
hope.
exactly that. Direction and hope, even when the way ahead is, well, obscured.
Okay, so this idea, often shared about living by faith, not by sight, what does that actually look like, day to day?
Well, that principle, it suggests we don't always need to have all the answers, all the facts laid out neatly before us.
Which is hard for us sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. It implies making decisions, moving through life based on a kind of fundamental trust, rather than solely on what's immediately visible or completely understood.
So it encourages looking beyond just the tangible stuff.
Right. It's a perspective shift, really.
And the image of fog. That's such a powerful way to describe those uncertain times.
Yeah.
Why do you think that metaphor is so fitting?
Well, think about being in really thick fog. Your ability to see ahead is severely limited, isn't it?
Definitely. You can barely see a few feet sometimes.
Right. You can't make out distant landmarks, maybe just the patch of ground right in front of you.
Yeah.
But the key thing is the fog doesn't mean the road has disappeared.
Okay,
It
yeah.
just means our vision is restricted. So in the same way, during these uncertain periods in life, the path forward might not be immediately clear.
But it doesn't mean there isn't one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It just requires us to navigate differently, relying on something other than, perfect clarity.
It's just so easy to fall into that trap, though, thinking we need that perfect clarity before we take even one step. We want the whole map revealed.
Or absolutely.
Yeah.
That desire for complete certainty is completely understandable. But often what we find is that guidance, it comes more incrementally.
Like one step at a time.
One step at a time, as some would put it, yes.
Hmm.
And this kind of invites a deeper reliance on that guiding principle, rather than just our own, often limited understanding.
So it requires some humility then.
It really does. A willingness to proceed even without knowing all the details, without having everything fully illuminated way in advance.
What do you think are some of the big challenges people face with that? Moving without total clarity.
Oh, um, I imagine fear is a huge one. Fear of the unknown. What if I take a step in the wrong direction? What if I mess up?
Absolutely. That fear is so natural. And, that's where stories of others who've navigated similar foggy situations can be really helpful.
Like examples. Yeah. Take, for instance, a nonprofit founder in Kenya. This was around 2025. She suddenly faced this unexpected loss of her main funding source,
Wow, that's a huge blow for outreach work.
a massive setback. And she didn't have a clear backup plan immediately in sight. But she felt this deep sense, this compulsion almost, to continue her efforts, operating purely on, well, trust.
That must have been incredibly stressful, just pushing forward without knowing where the resources would come from. What happened?
Well, it's quite a remarkable illustration, actually. Within just a few weeks, a new donor, someone she hadn't anticipated at all, reached out.
Yeah.
Yes, and offered even greater financial support than what she had lost.
Wow.
Her experience really highlights how provision can sometimes follow an act of trust, especially when facing significant uncertainty. It makes you wonder, what if she'd given in to the fear and stopped?
The outcome could have been totally different. That's a really powerful example of trusting even when things look incredibly bleak. Are there other stories like that illustrate this faith in the fog?
There is. Think about a recent college graduate, this one in the U.S. He had a secure job offer lined up, the kind most people would jump at,
Okay. The sensible choice, maybe?
perhaps by conventional standards. But he chose instead to pursue mission work. And his own words were something like, I had no roadmap, just peace in the decision and faith that a guiding force knew the rest.
So no clear plan, just peace.
Exactly. It wasn't the decision based on a spreadsheet or a 5-year strategy. It was based on an inner conviction, a sense of peace that guided him, even though the path seemed, well, uncertain to outsiders.
And how did that turn out?
Well, the immediate outcome isn't the whole story, but his journey, his willingness to trust that inner sense, is actually inspiring others who are facing their own crossroads now.
What strikes me about that is the idea of an internal compass. Trusting that even without, external validation or a detailed itinerary, there's still a sense of direction you can follow.
Precisely. So in these times when things feel so uncertain, so up in the air, it sounds like this idea of faith, this trust, it really becomes more than just a concept, doesn't it?
Yeah, it feels much more vital than that.
It becomes a lifeline. When our carefully laid plans just fall apart and the future feels hazy and out of reach, that trust becomes a vital anchor.
A source of hope, resilience.
Exactly.
Right.
Something that holds you steady, something that extends beyond just our immediate circumstances and what we can see with our own eyes.
So, if we were trying to distill this down, maybe to one key idea for someone listening who's navigating their own foggy season right now, what would that be?
I think the essence really can be captured in this thought,
Yeah.
trusting step by step.
Okay, step by step.
Yeah. It's not always about having that crystal clear vision of the final destination way off in the distance. It's more about recognizing the value, perhaps even the sacredness, of the journey itself.
The journey undertaken with trust.
Precisely. Taking one step and then the next, even when you can't see the entire path ahead.
Hmm. So, as we sort of wrap up our thoughts here, it brings us back to that core idea, doesn't it? Even when the way forward is shrouded in that fog, that uncertainty, when we really long for a clear signpost.
There is still a path forward
Through trust.
through trust. And maybe this invites a moment of personal reflection for you listening. Where in your own life do you find yourself in a season of uncertainty right now? Where do you feel unsure?
Yeah, that's a good question to sit with.
And then perhaps, how might you be feeling called or invited to trust anyway,
Yeah.
even without all the answers? It's just an opportunity to consider how this principle might resonate with your own experiences.
It really does give you pause, navigating those foggy periods with trust. It kind of suggests that maybe we discover unexpected routes, right?
Unexpected paths.
And maybe a deeper understanding of guidance that we just couldn't have perceived otherwise if everything had been clear from the start.